So why it's also a pleasure that you are here is that, of course, Iran was on every topic, mainly because of course, the international negotiation to the atomic deal and nuclear deal and all these kind of issues. But also, beside this, I think it is extremely important also to take a closer look on the situation of the Kurdish people in the region, and this includes also the Kurdish people in Iran. And especially when we speak about Iran, we should not forget that there is also a Kurdish issue on this topic. And I think additionally also that the general Kurdish question, of course, has to be seen in a broader perspective. It's not only a Turkish one or an Iraqi one or a Syrian one. It's also, I think, generally looking at the developments of the last weeks, Kurdish issue has to be brought back also on the international agenda. Secondly, I introduce also Thomas Schmiedinger. I think perfectly well known as the Austrian expert on the region and Kurdish issues. Published a lot of books. Probably you know we both know. And I additionally want to also introduce and welcome here, beside of you all here, Berivan Aslan, former member of the Green Party in the Austrian Parliament, and of Kurdish origin, and was very in the politics very active in the Parliament. We did a lot of very interesting and important projects in the Parliament, and still is extremely active on the Kurdish issue all over Austria, Europe, and the world. So therefore, I'm also happy that you are here. So maybe not to lose any further momentum, I give the floor to you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Andreas, and I'm so proud and very happy, and thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity to talk about Kurdistan, Iranian Kurdistan and Iran, and hope I'll give you some information. I'm sure that you have already a lot of information, but probably it will be news as well. And I appreciate the initiative by SPO, the Social Democratic Party of Austria, by arranging this meeting, and I highly appreciate it. When I go back to the history of the relationship between our party, Kurdistan Democratic Party, and Kurdish people to European countries, we are related to the social democratic values and the history of our achievement regarding how to establish the values of social democracy in Kurdistan and Iran. As much as it's concerned the KDP of Iran, which was led by Qasim Lu and then Saad al-Sharafandi, had a legacy how to have an approach to Iranian politics in terms of social democratic values. Bruno Kreisky, Olof Palme rebranded the triangle of three people who established the value of social democracy, and through them we used to come to the European values of politics. And we highly appreciate the legacy of Bruno Kreisky and Heinz Fischer, the former president of Austria. When I go to the history of relationship between our party and the Social Democrats and democratic values of Europe, then probably I go back to some aspects of the history as well. And it was the case of Dr. Abdurrahman Qasim Lu. He was a prominent social democrat from Middle East, from Iran, and Iranian Kurdistan, unfortunately assassinated in Vienna. We hope that when we talk about Vienna and social democratic values in Austria and Vienna, we should ever have good minds. But the Kurdish people in Iran, and as a whole, and those who are working for democracy in Iran, when they remember the case of Dr. Qasim Lu, while negotiating with the Iranian delegation, they just don't understand what happened in Vienna exactly about 30 years ago. Qasem, prominent politician, was trying to find a peaceful solution to Kurdish people, and then they chose Vienna for negotiation. But he was assassinated during the negotiation. We hoped that there was a jury in Vienna as well, when it was the case of Mykonos 3 years later, when our second Secretary General, Dr. Salah Sharafkandi, assassinated, was negotiating with the Iranian oppositional groups to establish an umbrella or a front among the Iranian politicians and to have an address or an alternative to Iranian Islamic regime. He was assassinated as well. I'm not going to go to the history of people who being killed or assassinated because there was a lot of them. I survived personally on 8th of September, the Iranian missile attack on our headquarters in Kurdistan. I was injured. What we were talking in this central committee meeting or plenum, we were talking about democracy, how to establish democracy in Iran. We were talking a lot of options, alternatives, that there is just one solution: negotiation, dialogue, peace. The Islamic regime of Iran has not been succeed in its campaign against the Kurdish people in Iranian Kurdistan. And we have, unfortunately, not been able to topple this regime. So both we, as the Kurds in Iran, and Kurdistan Democratic Party of Iran, and the Iranian regime, is a reality. So still we believe we have, through negotiation, to find a solution to Kurdish people in Iran. Unfortunately, so far, we haven't received any response. I'll try very brief, go back to the short definition of the Iranian Revolution. During the time of revolution, I was a student, 20 years. So the slogan of the students were democracy, justice, welfare, and human rights, regardless which ideology they belong. But the destiny of revolution was changed. Ayatollah Khomeini led the revolution, and well, after taking power, nobody could be part of this shaping Iranian political establishment. The ultimate definition that I can give you right now on Iran is a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society. So any alternative to this regime should pay attention to this reality. Otherwise, Iran cannot experience democracy. Our party believes in having a federal Iran in which all ethnic groups will have their own ethnic and religious or national rights. So, decentralization of Iran is our policy. But the Islamic Republic of Iran is trying to use two facts for its survival. First one, to use the Shia religious institution against the Sunni Islam in the region and try to send this message to the Shia groups in Middle East. If you are not united, if you do not have an address in Tehran, which is Islamic Republic of Iran, the Sunni world will not give you any opportunity for democracy, for freedom. So Iran, unfortunately, has become a survivor place for Shia movement in the region. They try to tell them, we are protecting you against the Sunni. And the Sunni as well try to send this message to their people. If you are not against the Shia, then the Islamic Republic will take over Middle East. Both sides are right in their motivation against each other. But democracy And human rights, tolerance does not have any place in their values. So that's why this crisis in Middle East will continue. A deep crisis which goes back to the 1,300 years ago, when the Shia opposition to Sunni created in Islam. So it's continuing still now. Probably the very classic and very easy definition of crisis in Middle East during the time of the Cold War between Washington and Moscow was the crisis between Palestinians and Israelis. But right now, you cannot any longer identify or define the crisis in Middle East exactly at the conflict between Palestinians and Israel. So it has become a subdivision of a big crisis. The crisis between the problems and conflict between Shia and Sunni in this region, which is led by the Islamic Republic of Iran and Sunni countries, and Sunni fanaticism or Sunni extremism or Sunni political Islam. As far as this continues, probably it will be very difficult to find the solution. What is the solution? What's the alternative? Does the democracy, tolerance, human rights work as an alternative, or as that you should accept us as a superpower in this region? We want altogether reshape the political map of Middle East. Then should Iran be involved? The policy of the United States is no. Iran shouldn't have any word in reshaping the politics in this region. And Iran trying, no. United States is a guest in this region. We are all in this region. In international arena, we see a very clear and crystal clear conflict between Europe and the United States. The conflict between Washington and Europe has been used by the Islamic Republic for its survival. The policy of Trump and his administration in Washington is far from the policy of the European Union. So what does it bring? That will help the Islamic Republic to use this conflict in favor of its strategy. The nuclear case has been used by Islamic regime since the time of Mr. Khatami, about 15 years. Iran is trying to tell its own people why other countries they have nuclear power, why we shouldn't have it. Iran trying to send this message to its own people and region. You have to accept an Iran with nuclear power. The main problem in this scenario was that international community was preoccupied with the case of nuclear case. In daily Iran, people don't care about the nuclear case. They just care about unemployment, human rights, and a lot of other problems. For women, the problem is that the state controls almost every aspect of the women's life and family life. So they do not have time to think about the nuclear power. Probably they are proud to be a nuclear power in this region. That's why the international community have not managed to involve the demand of Iranian people. That's why the Iranian people are not looking for an agreement between Iran and United States, between Iran and the European community regarding the nuclear case. Nuclear case is considered as a marker politics in Iran. So usually the ordinary people does not have enough time, and it's not in their interest to think about it and put pressure on their own regime. Please, enough is enough. Stop this case. Go back to the human rights, things like that. That's why the nuclear case has been used as a political game between superpowers and Iran. Probably it will never have an end. How we can shift the political aspect of Iran among the international communities and the region. So human rights, putting pressure on Iran and getting Iran involved to respect the human rights, the rights of ethnic groups, the right of women, and by involving Iran in this scenario and have a lot of conditions, probably it will help the Iranian people and Iranian society that the international community pay attention to their demands. What's about the Iranian opposition groups? Almost the majority of Iranian people, they don't want this regime. They dislike the policy of this regime. So they are fed up with the policies of this regime. Iran is a rich country. The Iranian money goes to Afghanistan, Pakistan, Saudi, Gulf countries, Syria, Lebanon, almost everywhere when you have the Shia groups. They finance them for their own strategy that they are in favor of the Iranian regime. While unemployment in Iran and the discrimination in Iran and the class differences in Iran is huge. So Iran is not a poor country, a rich country. But a lot of money goes to the strategy of exporting the values of revolution. While this project will face challenges from the Sunni groups and Sunni Arab countries, then you have a big conflict. We have different oppositional groups in Iran, from left groups to monarchists to some moderate religious parties and ethnic political parties, from Kurdish to Azeris, Baluch, Arab, and others. But so far we have not managed to establish a front among political parties against this regime. Almost everybody speaks about democracy, human rights, but we still do not have a united front against Iran. The case is not the same among the Kurdish parties. We have in some level some sorts of unity among us. We are working to establish a Kurdish front, a democratic front, a Kurdish democratic and ethnic front that we are working for federalism in Iran, decentralization of power in Iran, that almost everybody is part of politics, part of power in Tehran. So through this, we're trying to bring this model of democracy for Iran, which is good for Iran. Kurds in this region, I believe, if there is any talk about how to reshape the map of Middle East, you have to put Kurds into consideration. The Kurdish case in Syria, that they fought ISIS very bravely. The Kurds in Iraqi Kurdistan were in front line against ISIS, and the Kurds that working for democracy in Turkey, and the Kurds that are a solid fact in Iranian politics shouldn't be denied. Kurds are opportunities in this region. So this opportunity can be used in this region in favor of democracy. That's why I hope that Social Democrats and all other parties work on this case and will send this message to European Union that we can talk about Kurdish facts in reshaping politics in the Middle East. When on September 8th, we were discussing the politics in Iran, and our headquarters was attacked by the Iranian missile, and I personally survived this attack. We didn't talk about terrorism. We didn't talk about military solution to Kurdish issue. We didn't talk about disintegration of Iran. We just talked about how to reshape politics in Iran, and Kurdistan Democratic Party should play a big role in this scenario. we were attacked by them. It was first time in the history of Iran that ballistic missiles were used. They didn't use these ballistic missiles against the Israeli state, despite almost every day they trying to send a message or warning to Israel. It was not used against the United States. These ballistic missiles were not used against Turkey. It was used against the defenseless Kurdish people and a political party. It was not responded by any country in this region. We didn't see any condemnation from European Union, European countries regarding this. If a very small missile, just a warning, when every time it has been sent from Tehran to Israel or Turkey to Saudi Arabia, we see the meeting between head of the countries and they trying to condemn. So it's not easy to be the voice of the defenseless people or the defenseless Kurdish party. But I'm sure that your values, the European value of democracy, should work on this case. That when we come to values, the value of democracy, human rights, Iran should be responsible and it should be accountable. Just the United States representative in United Nations condemned this attack. We didn't see any condemnation from any other countries. I hope that our friends in social democratic parties, and I hope that through the Austrian government, these cases like this will be raised in the European Union and more pressure will be put on Iran. I am afraid that probably next meeting that we will have in Iraq and Kurdistan, it will be targeted again by the Iranian missiles. I hope that I am not going to experience it again, but nothing is impossible. Thanks a lot, I appreciate it.